Welcome back to the Mike and Andrew Show. I'm Andrew Serwick here again with Mike Meredith. Mike, it is our 50th episode here tonight. Um, you know, we've seen a little bit of growth. We'd like to see a lot more, but Mike, how are you doing this evening, man?
Doing pretty good, man. Weekend's coming up. It's gonna be a good time. Be some good games. Baseball's coming back soon.
Yeah, that is for sure. We got uh, 12 games tonight in the NHL. And then obviously a week from tomorrow is the NHL trade deadline. And we got some NHL trade stuff to talk about. But first, we're going to get into some power rankings. Let's get the NBA power rankings going, Mike.
Yes, sir. So, you know, uh, trying to be a little bit consistent with these power rankings. This latest one was dropped on February 27th, so should be pretty up to date here. But yeah, let's get into it. So, of course, format staying with just the top 10 teams. The Pistons actually might not be at the bottom. I didn't check, but them and the Wizards now have the same record, so the Wizards might even be in last now. So might be the first time the Pistons aren't the worst team in basketball, which is probably something I haven't been able to say all year. But yeah, number 10, the New York Knicks. They were 10 last week, sixth on offense, ninth on defense. Crazy to think that they're number 10, they're top 10 in both offense and defense. So definitely feel like they should be higher. I was actually just watching the Knicks Warriors game tonight while we were recording this episode. So if they can pull that off, they started off really bad in that game, but they can come back. That'll be a nice win for them. I really like their team. You know, they're missing out on a few players right now to injury. OG Anunoby and Julius Randle have both been out with injury, so that's tough. So I feel like they haven't been doing as good, but again, their team's kind of banged up right now. So uh, definitely we'll have to see how they do moving forward. Number nine is the Milwaukee Bucks. So shows fifth on offensive rating, and I think they messed the article up because it shows their defensive rating ranking is 115.5, which uh, of course that's their actual defensive rating. So I think they're like middle of the pack, maybe a little bit below average defensively. Uh, still tough to trust Milwaukee right now, especially with the head coaching changes that they've had. Um, but they are 11-1 with 11 straight wins against bottom five teams. So they're beating the shit out of crappy teams, and uh, they still are a solid playoff team. I think nine is fine. Um, Number eight is the Phoenix Suns. Last week they were also number eight, eighth on offense, 14th on defense. Um, they have so the Suns are the example of playing well at home. They've won eight straight home games, but they've lost their last seven road games. So they definitely are a home court advantage team. They have the stars to make a deep playoff push. I think eight is fine. They haven't really been that dominant either way. Still top 10 on offense, but defense definitely needs to pick it up. Number seven, and last week they were also number seven, the Dallas Mavericks, 11th on offense, 20th on defense. Crazy to think their ratings are that low for how well this team seems to be, man. Luka is one of the best players in basketball. Kyrie Irving's been great. They got a really good team. They made some good moves at the trade deadline. I think that they have a good potential to make a deep playoff run if somehow the matchups go in their favor here. I think number seven's fine, even though their offensive and defensive ratings are more towards the bottom of the pack of this top 10. Number six, moving down from number four last week, is the Cleveland Cavaliers. They are 15th on offense, second on defense, though. Um, yeah, they were on fire before the All Star break. Um, they had won like 18 of their last 20 games, but Donovan Mitchell's been out since the All-Star break. He's missed a few games. I think he came back recently, but he was out for at least 2 or 3 games. Uh, they haven't been as strong the since the All Star break, but they still got such a great team, man. A lot of good young players. They could definitely make a good playoff push, and they're definitely going to make the playoffs here. I think number 6 is fine for them. Number 5 is the Denver Nuggets. They were sixth last week, 12th on offense, 11th on defense. Again, just their offense and defensive ratings don't look too promising, but they got Jokic, bro. Jokic, best player in basketball. He's been putting up some crazy stat lines. Uh, Jamal Murray has finally been clicking back as well. They were fourth in the Western Conference after the All Star break, so they have been pretty solid. Like fourth seed, could definitely do a little bit better, but they are still one of the most feared teams. I definitely think they should be in the top 5 here. Number 4 is the LA Clippers. They were number 3 last week, fourth on offense, 13th on defense. Yeah, the Clippers are just great. The night before recording this, they gave up a huge lead though to the Lakers and lost. So that definitely hurts, but they still got a great team. Kawhi is playing great. Paul George is playing great. Russ and Harden as well, playing great as well. Next at number 3, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder, third on offense, fourth on defense. They're crazy, man. I know that the team above them is ahead of them right now in the standings, but I do think that Oklahoma City is going to finish with the 1 seed out west. They've just been so good. I love their team. I've been saying that all year. They have such a good team. I mean, look at that. Third and fourth on the offense and defensive ratings. They play on both sides of the ball compared to how the league is nowadays. Even though defense is non-existent, the defense that is played, they are one of the better teams, and on offense as well.
Yeah,
Just got such a great group of players, a lot of young talent. I do feel nervous a little bit for them in the playoffs just because they haven't been there. This is like going to be their first year as a group going to the playoffs, and we'll have to see how that goes. But I'm saying it right now. If they get the number 1 seed, I think that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander wins league MVP. He is insane. He is such a good player on both sides of the ball. He can score 30 any given night. He's getting 2 to 3 steals every night, guarding one of the premier guys out on the winger at the point guard position every night. He does it all, man.
yeah, and you know who the Thunder kind of remind me of for comparison is the Houston Texans. They're a
Yeah,
really
just a
young
lot of young
team that has a lot of talent, and no one expected to be this good this soon.
talent.
You compare them to the Texans this year, man. They are really, really, really good. A really young team. Nobody expected them to be this good this soon, and man, they are playing some really good basketball. And I completely agree. I think they will end up with that number 1 seed in the West as well because they are just
Yeah,
rolling on both sides. I mean, offensively and defensively, we crack jokes, but the little defense they just played, they're really, really good at it. So, yeah, they are really surprising everyone this year, I think.
yeah, they are. Like I said, they haven't even made the playoffs as this group has not made the playoffs. So to be the number 1 seed after not making the playoffs last year, that's incredible. Another team though, number 2, I do think that the Thunder will finish ahead of them, but they are currently the number 1 seed is the Minnesota Timberwolves. They were number 2, so they're 17th on offense, so they're kind of below average compared to the rest of the league on offense, but they got the number 1 defense. That's what's bringing them up in how they're winning games. They're 40-17. Um, I do really like their team. Anthony Edwards is great, and he's getting a lot of recognition. Same with Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is front runner right now to win Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, yeah, you're the best defender on the number 1 team and number 1 defensive team in basketball. So definitely can see that right there. he'll be a four-time winner if he wins this year as well. Yeah, the Timberwolves though they've just been winning games. Nothing really to say. They've just been one of the most consistent teams this year, and another one that's just been super surprising. I think they will finish with the second seed. Like I said, I think the Thunder will jump them at the end of the season, but um, I still think that they get a really good team. But again, like the Thunder, they don't really have much playoff experience at all. They made the playoffs. I don't even know if they made the playoffs last year. I think they did a few years ago as like a lower seed, but the team was definitely a little bit different then. We'll have to see how they do, but yeah, they're super solid. Definitely deserve at least a top three spot. I feel.
Yeah, and I mean
Yeah.
their ability to shut down even like the top offenses in the league over the recent month and a half, especially, man, they have been really good at that, limiting some good chances from these top offenses. So I think their defense is definitely carrying them, considering their offensive rankings. What 17th? I think you said.
Yeah,
Uh,
17th among the 30
their their
teams.
de-
Yeah.
their defense is really carrying them, and I mean
Hmm.
rightfully so. But yeah, I do think I think they'll probably fall down to that two seed in the West. I think OKC is just coming straight for them, man.
Yes, sir. And I think they're only like a game back. Like in this, they're showing they had the same record at 40-17. I think Minnesota might have like a game or maybe half a game, so it's super tight, super close. But number one, and they've been number one on like all these power rankings, maybe aside from one, the Boston Celtics. They're 45-12. They're by far the best team record wise, and now at the number one offense, number three defense. I mean, yeah, they just been dominant. I mean, if there was any team to call dominant, it's them this year. They have been winning every game. It seems like. I feel like they've been at 12 losses for a minute now. I feel like they've been on a big winning streak. Yeah, they've won eight straight games. So eight straight game winning streak. They have a 5 game lead above second place in uh, in their conference in the Eastern Conference, and their winning percentage right now is the best mark in the last 6 seasons since the 2018 Rockets went 65-17. So they could finish something similar to that. The only thing is, though, Boston has kind of been prone to maybe choking in the playoffs. I mean, they lost to Miami, and right now it looks like Miami could be the 4 seed again. And if that's the case, and Miami wins their first round matchup, they would play Boston in round two. And Miami, I know they're not top 10 right now, but they always are as good in the regular season. But come playoff time, they're one of the most scariest teams. They just always seem to click. So Boston, man, if you guys win like 65 games and then lose to the Heat again, bro, something might have to change, man. A coaching change. Someone might have to get moved because I mean they got the talent. They're winning games, but we'll have to see, man. They definitely are the favorite right now. It's just tough to pick them because they haven't even won the title with this group. They've never they're definitely not a dynasty. And I was looking today. I know we've kind of talked about in the past how the NBA really has no parity and it's always the same teams every year. There's actually been a new champion every year for the last 5 years. So Toronto in 2019, the Lakers in 2020, the Bucks 2021, the Warriors in 2022, and the Nuggets in 2023. So there has been since the Warriors dynasty kind of came to a close there has been a lot of different teams that got their chance. So maybe this is Boston's year. I'd love to see it be their year because, um, I guess they've never won a title with this group, so it'd be interesting to see. Of course, I think I'd be rooting for the Thunder or even maybe the Timberwolves just because they're kind of a really Cinderella story. I think they'd be cool, but yeah, what are your thoughts here on these rankings?
I mean, Boston obviously number one. I mean, they are dominant offensively. Defensively, they are really good. I mean, they're not as good as the Timberwolves defensively,
Yeah, but they're
but they are
close.
very close, and I think that's helping them. Man, but you're spot on with their playoff luck over
Uh,
the last 5 years. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, last year choking to the Heat.
Yeah, they
Um,
did make the finals in 2022, but they lost
yeah,
to the Warriors.
right. And
And they
then
lost to it was either the Heat again or
I,
Milwaukee.
I think it was
Uh,
the Heat
yeah,
again.
the Heat. Yeah, they just. I can tell you right now that Boston. I don't care how good Boston is. They do not want to play Miami. Miami just is like that team in the playoffs. Like, do you have like an NHL comparison where they just are always really good in the playoffs,
I'm trying. There's
no
not
matter
a
what their record is?
there. There's not really a team that really is known for being decent in the play or in the regular season and then just on fire in the playoffs. It that never really happens. Usually, really
Yeah,
good teams can make it all the way through the playoffs in the NHL. I mean,
I would.
I guess the
Yeah.
best comparison would be probably the Florida Panthers last year. They were
Hmm.
they were a wild card team that made it all the way to the Cup Finals, and they were a team that underperformed all regular season. Though that's where I don't know if it's a direct comparison because I don't know if
Yeah.
Miami's completely playing not as
Yeah.
good as they should be. But
Yeah. So they haven't been that bad, but last year they made they were in the NBA Finals and they were the eighth seed in the conference. They almost didn't make the playoffs and they
right,
went all the way to the finals.
and
So
Florida
kind of like Florida
the
did.
Panthers were a no, yeah, no. The Panthers were a one seed, or not a one seed, an eight seed last year, and made it all the way to the finals. So yeah, that's I mean that's probably the best comparison, but you don't see that all too often in the NHL.
Yeah.
But as for like bad luck in the playoffs, you could make a
Yeah.
comparison between the Celtics and Toronto, right? So
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. That they're the opposite of the Dodgers. Dodgers are all regular season and no playoffs.
I mean that's Toronto and that's the Celtics right there. So I mean,
True.
you compare those three or uh, Philadelphia for NFL this year.
Yeah, and even in basketball too, for the 76ers,
Yeah, they've fallen
they still
apart.
haven't they still haven't even made the conference finals, and they've always been one of the top at least four teams in the conference, and they still can't make a conference finals. Like that's bad, man.
Yeah, that's absolutely wild that they haven't even made it to the conference finals,
Maple
man.
Leafs, Celtics, and Dodgers,
Yep,
the chokers of American sports.
they're regular season merchants. That's what
Yep.
that's what we call that. But as for like just the Heat being consistently in the playoffs, never really achieving what they can in the regular season, but being really good in the playoffs, I can't find a good comparison for the NHL. Um, like I said, I mean, you have your eventual eight seed or a seven seed getting all the way up to the conference finals even. But outside of that, you don't really see it all too often because it seems like the wild card spots, especially in both conferences, you see them flip. Like you see completely two new different teams every single year, at least in the wild card spots. So it's always interesting um, to see that. But I wouldn't be surprised right now if Tampa Bay kind of made that sort of a push that Miami makes in the playoffs in
Yeah.
terms of the NHL because
For,
Tampa Bay is not playing the greatest, but playoff hockey is completely different from regular season hockey. So that's why I'm like,
mhm.
it's definitely possible. So
Yeah, man, it's definitely a different animal. And then two for this article here, I actually did look, and the Wizards are behind the Pistons. So
we
Washington's
aren't bottom of the
definitely
league. We aren't bottom of the
we are
league.
not bottom. We are worse in defensive rating though. We're giving up 120 points per game.
Yeah, that's embarrassing.
That's so fucking bad, so bad. But we're not last.
No, we're
We're
not.
not
We're
last
not last
anymore.
anymore. So thank God. So yeah, that's gonna wrap up NBA power rankings. So now we're on to the NHL, um, and we'll start right here. The top 10.
Where
Edmonton.
the wings gonna be?
The Wings are actually
They're gonna be so
on
good.
this power rankings. They're 12th. They were 13th last
Wow.
week, and now they're only on 12th. But they have But they're currently on a 6-game win streak that is under
Yeah.
threat right now because they're down 2-1 to the Islanders right now. But there's still 2 minutes left in the second period, so there's still a bit of hockey to go here. But uh, so number 10 here, it's the Edmonton Oilers. They were number 7 last week. Um, yeah, they kind of had they had a really nice long winning streak going, and then it got snapped, and then they've just kind of been like just above 500 over the last week and a half now. So I mean, not really that productive. That said, Connor McDavid has I think I saw a stat like today or yesterday. In the last 6 games, he's had 22 assists, which is just
Jeez.
mind-boggling. How many assists he's getting. I mean, that's over 3 assists a game on average, which is
Hmm.
insane. Um, but yeah, no, Edmonton, they've kind of just been struggling over the last week and a half. But um, they're kind of like Toronto. They're like the Toronto of the West. They have a really good regular season, and then they fall apart in the playoffs. But they do make it out of the first round, unlike Toronto. But yeah, Toronto might be. They're definitely going to be trying to buy. This article is like it's the power rankings, but it's also who possible players that these teams should target, and they're saying that they should try and target Jake Gensel from Pittsburgh, but Gensel's one of the youngest players on that Pittsburgh team. I don't think they're going to be trying to trade him, but you never know. Number 9 here. They were number 11 last week. The Toronto Maple Leafs. They were on a 7-game win streak until Tuesday night, where they lost to Vegas. Um, they've been playing really, really good hockey as of late. And what's crazy about it is because you know how I said Detroit is on their 6-game win streak right now.
Hmm.
Um, in this win streak, Detroit is actually between both these streaks, Detroit is actually caught Toronto. So really, really good hockey lately from especially Toronto. I mean, they lost to Vegas the other night, ending that 7-game win streak. But they're looking to bounce back tonight, and I think they will. They need some help on defense for sure. So I wouldn't be surprised next week that or we see them make a move to get someone. I saw today Arizona the Arizona Coyotes are looking to trade Matt Dumba, but they won't take anything less than a first round pick for him. And he's not worth. Now, if this was 5 years ago, yeah, Matt Dumba was definitely worth a first round pick, but this ain't 2019 anymore. So yeah, you're not getting that from him. But yeah, Toronto, they need to target defense. Number 8, they moved up one spot, is the Carolina Hurricanes. Um, they've been really, really good lately. Just very consistent. When they lose very close games. Most of them have been actually in overtime as of late too. So, but for the most part, they just keep winning. And they need some help offensively. They have one of the worst offenses in the league. I believe they're like it doesn't have where they're at right now, but I think last time I looked, they were ninth in the Eastern Conference, which I believe is somewhere around like 17th or 16th in the entire league in terms of offensive production. So if they want to make any sort of run in the playoffs, they need some high scoring firepower, and their defense and goaltending is what's saving them right now and keeping them in games. And yeah, number 7 here, they moved down 2 spots, is the Colorado Avalanche. Um, Goaltending has been a big issue, really, for them all season. They don't have a true, backup goalie. Um, but outside of that, their offense has been really good. Defense, at times, they haven't been playing the greatest. They're giving up a lot of high danger chances, and high danger chances are basically shots that are like directly right in front of the net within about, I think it's 15 feet or closer to the net or to the crease. So Yeah, they're giving up a lot of those as of late, especially. So, um, but they desperately need goaltending, but they gotta get something sorted out scheme wise defensively to stop giving up all these high danger chances. Staying at number 6 here is the Dallas Stars. Um, I there's nothing more I have to say than what I did last week. They are just really really good. Um, they did just get Chris Tanev, and we'll talk about that trade after I finish up these power rankings. But it seems like he's not going to make his Stars debut until sometime next week, which is interesting. And like I said, we'll get into that after I do the power rankings. But they addressed a big need by getting a gritty defenseman like Chris Tanev. So and that's been their biggest weak point is they have good defensemen. They just don't have that defensive defenseman that can really seal up zones, get some good penalty kill minutes each night that they desperately need. And but yeah, Stars offense really really good. So yeah. Uh, Number 5 here, dropping one spot, is the Boston Bruins. They are interesting to say the least. They are, I think in their last 10, I think it was I think they have a losing record in their last 10. They've just fallen apart defensively. I believe it was like 3-4-3, something like that, over their last 10 games. I'd have to go back and look exactly. I saw that like an hour before we started recording this, and I already forget what I saw. But yeah, they need defensive defensemen. They're probably going to look at Hannafin from Calgary. Please, God, no. Please, Steve Yzerman, do us a favor and get Noah Hannafin. But yeah, no. Boston, they're still really good offensively. But they're nowhere near as good as this team was last year. I mean, last year obviously they had that record-breaking season in terms of wins and points. But yeah, no, I think Boston they need help defensively, especially because you know goaltending they're getting everything they possibly can out of Allmark, but man, he keeps getting peppered with shots, and that's why they're losing, because they're just giving up so many shots every single night. So Boston needs help defensively. They say go after Hannafin. I mean that wouldn't be bad, but Hannafin's going to be a hot commodity come next week, I believe. Going up 4 spots from last week to number 4. Here's the Winnipeg Jets. They were 8th last week. They need help defensively, but not in a desperate sort of way. They need some help on the blue line in the offensive zone, more particularly. Some better, not necessarily offensive defensemen that they need, but they need kind of like a good two-way defenseman just to help, in the offensive zone, but also be able to be responsible in the defensive zone as well. So, but that said, they are getting back to winning ways. They went on not a necessarily losing streak, but a losing skid where they'd lose 2 or 3 games, then win a game, then lose another 2 or 3, and then win a game. And but now they're back to winning a ton of games again. But yeah, they need defensive help. They also say they should try and target Noah Hannafin. Surprise, surprise. Number 3, moving down just one spot, is the Vancouver Canucks. They've been really good still. There's some stuff going on, a lot of rumors saying that they're either going to trade or they might trade Elias Pettersson. I don't believe any of those rumors to be true. I mean, why would you give up your best goal scorer on not your best goal scorer, because right now Brock Besser leads them in that stat, but one of your best goal scorers and definitely a top 3 point producer on your team right before the playoffs. That would make no sense. Obviously, if they did trade him, it would be to an Eastern Conference team, because they're not going to give any team that's in their conference that sort of firepower. So, But no, I think Vancouver, they just need some help defensively. Maybe try and find another goalie. But I mean, honestly, if I'm Vancouver, I'm not gonna really be doing a whole lot at the trade deadline because the team is just so solid, top to bottom, all four lines, all three defensive pairs, and goaltending. While it has been really good, you could probably upgrade your backup goalie spot. But I mean, honestly, I wouldn't touch what the Canucks are doing and what they have. Moving up to number two here from number three last week. They're on a 10-game win streak right now. It's the New York Rangers. They're closing in to try on Florida to try and take the number one seed in the in the Eastern Conference. Really, really good on both ends of the ice. Um, they need to add some scoring depth still because they're getting a lot of goals from their top line and a decent amount from their second line, but they just have no depth on that third and fourth line for scoring. If they could get a guy like a Vetrano from Anaheim to just add to that third line, get some production out of that line finally, New York can definitely make a deep run. But that's the thing about the NHL playoffs is you have to have scoring depth to make a run. I mean, look at Vegas last year; they had a ton of scoring depth. They don't have as much of it this year, but that's what I'm saying. The Wings, they could probably make a good run because they have the most scoring depth in the entire league, with I believe now 13 guys with over 10 goals, which still is the most in the league. Even if they had 12, still still the most in the league. But yeah, New York, they need some depth scoring. Outside of that, man, they are rock solid, especially on the defensive end. I mean, you have Adam Fox, and you have one of the best goalies in the league with Shesterkin. So yeah, and then staying at number one is the Florida Panthers. Um, they need some scoring depth as well. I believe they only have like six guys with 10 or more goals, so they desperately need scoring depth. Um, Anthony Duclair is a guy that they could look at, and like I said, Vetrano from Anaheim is also definitely someone they could look at trying to acquire. But Duclair used to play for the Panthers, so it would be a great fit to have him come back. He's played with a lot of the guys that are on this core, so it would make a ton of sense to get him again. And he again would add some sort of scoring depth. But the biggest problem is they don't have any first or second round picks in the 2024 draft. So trying to acquire any sort of scoring depth is going to be a very, very, very big challenge for Florida here. But yeah, they're playing really good hockey still. Not as good as the Rangers, obviously, with the 10-game winning streak, but the Panthers are very, very rock solid. Yeah, so that's going to wrap it up for the NHL Power Rankings. So, Mike, you got anything on this?
No, I mean, pretty self-explanatory. I mean, yeah, the Rangers on fire recently. Florida's been good. Vancouver, a lot of good top teams, man. That can go absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, especially, it's still been very quiet for a week out from the trade deadline on all the trades. It's been very, very quiet the last week now, I guess. You don't see usually start to see some movement, but we haven't seen really any movement up until yesterday. And we'll get into this trade here. Calgary traded out obviously Chris Tanev to Dallas, and this was a three-team trade here because Dallas is already so close to the cap that they needed someone else to offload this money to, and Calgary was not willing to retain half of Tanev's salary, given the fact that they're giving up, Chris Tanev, who's one of the best defensive defensemen in the league this year, and also the fact that Dallas doesn't have a ton of draft capital to give away for Calgary to have made that worthy. So New Jersey here, they got a fourth round pick from Dallas for retaining 50% of Tanev's um, salary here, um, and uh, and then so Dallas got Chris Tanev, of course, and they're only getting 50% of his salary, and they also got Cole Brady, who I believe was a Devils prospect, if I remember correctly. But this to me um, sounds like New Jersey might be doing nothing at the trade deadline because they're already pretty close to the cap, and so they need to move some pieces around if they want to be cap compliant by the deadline if they wanted to make a playoff push. But I think this is New Jersey saying they're folding their hand. They're not gonna try and make a playoff push this year. But for Calgary, they get I hope I can pronounce his last name right. Artem Grushnikov, a second round pick from Dallas, and a conditional 2026 third round pick. And the condition on that pick is that if Dallas makes the Cup Finals this year, Calgary will get that pick. If not, Calgary will not get that third round pick. So um, Dallas fans are kind of conflicted on how to feel about that, but I mean, honestly, you're giving up a third round pick, and third round picks are valuable in the NHL draft. But would you rather have that third round pick or win the cup? I think win the cup. Um, so yeah, I think all around this kind of worked out for everyone. Obviously, Calgary has folded the cards. They're looking to sell off, maybe not the entire team, but sell off a lot of these older players. Obviously, Chris Tanev, he's 34. Hannafin's been, talked about that he's on the trade block. He's 27, so he's not really old. He's like right in his prime years, but Calgary, yeah, I think they're obviously giving up on this season, and I think New Jersey, just by taking half the salary from Dallas, they are, yeah, they're just they're kind of giving up on this season as well. I mean, they're so far back from both Tampa and Detroit as it is right now. Trying to make up all those games it's very very tough in the NHL. You basically would need to start winning a ton and hope that Detroit and Detroit and Tampa start just falling apart completely, or Philadelphia too because they're in the same conference as Philadelphia. So yeah, you got any thoughts on this, Mike?
No, not really. I think that yeah, this trade deadline is going to be a pretty crazy one, and hopefully the Red Wings can make some more moves as well and get involved here. Um, I think that there's a lot of teams that could benefit. A lot of teams selling off that are kind of out of it, and I think that there's a lot of opportunity here to make a good playoff push.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting trade deadline because there's not a whole lot of really top level players on the trading block this year from many of these teams. So um, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. But I think the smarter GMs are gonna start making their moves either tomorrow or over the weekend because um, you know you're gonna see a lot of the big trades on deadline day, and I feel like Calgary is gonna have a bidding war for over Noah Hannafin, so they're gonna get what they want from him. Um, but you never know. Steve Yzerman likes to fleece teams, so it'd be great to see the Yzer plan, come out again and steal Noah Hannafin for a bag of chips, basically, and I mean, that's how Steve Yzerman operates, man. He just gets players for absolutely nothing, and everyone's like, how does this man keep getting away with this robbery out here? I mean, Jesus, man. But yeah, that's gonna wrap up your NHL stuff. So I'm gonna look a little bit at the combine today. Players actually started doing stuff today. Um, One of the big things I saw today was a big man running a 4.78 in the 40. Defensive
Crazy.
tackle Braden Fisk ran a 4.78 in the 40-yard dash. That's a big man. I believe he's let me see here. He's 6'4", 292 pounds, and he ran a uh, a 4.78 in the uh oh no, that what was no, that was Kool-Aid McKinstry that ran the 4.78. It was Fisk put up a. Oh no, it was no. Never mind. I'm reading this thing wrong. Fisk did put up that 4.78. So yeah, that is wild. That a man that big, 6'4", 292,
Mm-hmm.
300 pounds, coming at you
Mm-hmm.
that fast, man. That is wild to think about. Hey Lions, maybe think about drafting him at number 29. Help Hutchinson out, man. Fuck, we need something there. We really need something there. But one thing I wanted to talk to you about is something I don't understand. And I'm a big fan of this kid, but I don't think he should have entered the draft this year. I think he needed to play at least one more year, and that's JJ McCarthy. His draft
I don't
stock,
know, man. Yeah,
his draft stock is rising, and it's rising fast. I mean, I saw,
I had
uh,
12.
I saw,
I saw him at 12 in a mock draft.
I saw him. I forget who, but it was one of the NFL insiders. He had him at 8 going to Atlanta. Um,
Yeah, crazy.
every draft always has that one player that like just out of nowhere starts getting a bunch of hype, and then either they turn out actually really really good, or they end up being a failure. And most of the time, they do end up being a failure. And I feel like JJ McCarthy's become that player where like he's not in that top tier of quarterbacks with Drake May, Jane Daniels, and Caleb
Caleb Williams.
Williams. Obviously, he's nowhere near those guys. But look, JJ's really really good. I think he just needs a little bit more time. I mean, he didn't really get a lot of chances to throw the ball, this year. I mean, he threw some of the least amount of passes in Division One football this year. And I get it, a lot of that scheme, Harbaugh's scheme, but we don't have a lot of data points on J.J. McCarthy like we do Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels and Drake May, right? My question is that like, what do you think is like driving behind this? Because I don't see 100%. I mean, the kid's got a cannon of an arm and he can run like a motherfucker, but he gets in over his head sometimes. I feel like, and I feel like that can cost him a ton in the NFL. Like a Zach Wilson, for example. I mean, he didn't have a lot of data points. He looked really good at the combine, and then he got in over his head once he got to the NFL level, and just well, the rest is history from there. He's a total fucking meme now. What do you think is like this driving factor on why JJ McCarthy's stock is rising so fast, and even before the combine started, it was rising?
I don't even know, to be honest with you. I mean, there's just always those people. There's always guys that just suddenly drop and guys that suddenly rise. Who knows? Maybe they're just speculating, and he doesn't end up going as high, and he's a late first round pick or even second round. Uh, I don't really know. I mean, maybe they're just something that they're liking about him. There was some offensive tackle who I saw went from 18th in a mock draft to number 5 in the draft. Like, how do you jump to a top 5 pick? Um, he was offensive tackle from Bama, I think, that they were projecting to go to the Chargers. It's just tough, man. Again, probably even as we get closer to the draft, he's going to bounce around even more. Um,
Yeah, it's
most of the yeah, most
it's
of the times the combine numbers,
yeah,
help you out.
and that's my problem is I think people put too much into the combine because the combine, it's no pads, there's no actual pressure on you. Um, in any of these drills. A lot of these drills are kind of old and outdated and kind of pointless now, too. But I just the way I see it, like people would just put way too much stock in the combine, and I honestly think it's stupid at this point. I mean, especially the interview stuff. It's like you have thousands of hours of film on these players, but you still want to do an interview with them. It's just like if just look at the film. If you like the guy, you like the guy. If you don't like the guy, you don't like the
Well,
guy. And
I guess I will say with interview, you like, I guess maybe if you don't like their character, like their, I guess maybe if they're like, you know, not showing like they're carrying it, or they don't really give a shit, maybe that can sway you away from picking someone. I don't really see how the interview helps really.
no, I don't really either because the NFL doesn't care about your character anymore. I mean, this isn't 1950 anymore. Character's gone out the window. I mean, you got guys who've killed people in the league. I mean,
Yeah.
or beat up girlfriends or beat up their wives. I mean, you know, and we could go down the rabbit hole of this. Make fun of Ray Rice getting what 2 games, but JMO betting on college basketball got 6. Things like that. But um, yeah, it's just I don't know if I can really trust JJ to be a starter in the NFL just yet. I mean, it's possible because, like I said, he's got a cannon for an arm, and he can move like no other. But I don't know, man. Something just tells me he's not gonna make it in the NFL. Um, unless he had that extra year of development. I really do. It's going to be interesting to see for sure. But as high as 8, man, I don't know about that. I mean, there's a ton of really good players. Atlanta needs a quarterback, and I mean, but are you really going to risk that for JJ McCarthy? I mean, look at Desmond Ritter, for example, when they took him. I mean, he was supposed to be really good, and fell apart because he had a really, really good combine. And then, well, we know how bad Desmond Shitter is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'd take Bo Nix over JJ right now, to be honest, at that 8 spot.
Yeah, I get the appeal also because like Bo Nix, he's old, right? I mean, he has like
Hmm.
I think like 7 years at college or 8 years, something like that, and that's why Penix's stock is so low is because he's so old. Um, and I think that might be some of the appeal for JJ is that he's still young. I think he's 22, 23 years old, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look real quick, actually. Um, he's no, he's only 21 years old. He just actually turned 21. So his youth is definitely part of why you know his stock might be so high is because he could even get the Jordan Love treatment if he goes somewhere deeper in the first round, where he can develop behind someone and he could turn into a really good quarterback. You never know, but I just if I was JJ, I would have stayed at least another year, man, because yeah, just I don't see the hype. I mean, he's a really good quarterback, especially in college, but I just don't think he has the NFL talent just yet. But yeah, that's really all I wanted to talk about. Kind of go over more of the combine on Tuesday's episode. Obviously, if any trades happen in the NHL, we'll talk about it for sure. And then, but yeah, rate, review, subscribe, help us out. Let us know what you want to see from us, of course. Check out our YouTube page again, the Mike and Andrew Show. Spread the word on our podcast, guys. We're really trying to grow here, and yeah, thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you guys on Tuesday.